Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unveiling Shadows, where we delve into the secretive corners of government operations today. We're lifting the curtain on the so-called deep state and the clandestine operations, especially focusing on secret drone programs. I am your host, the Ghost Scientist, your voice from the beyond, and we're about to explore some of the most kept secrets in modern warfare and surveillance. What do we mean by deep state? It's a term often thrown around suggesting a hidden network of government agencies or operatives who influence policy and operations without public oversight. Critics argue it's just a myth, while others claim it's very real, especially in national security context. The term's origins and evolution in political discourse and alleged deep state actions from intelligence operations to influencing policy, and the balance between necessary secrecy for national security and the public's right to know. What we're going to zoom in today on is the secret drone program. Now let's zoom into it. One of the most secretive aspects of modern warfare is drone programs. These aren't your typical drones for delivery or photography. We're talking about armed drones used for surveillance and targeted strikes. And we're not talking about just ballistic strikes or ballistic platforms, people. We're talking about platforms that have the abilities and capabilities of delivering chemical, biological, and radiological material to any area at any given time without the threat of loss of life of the pilot or the piloting staff that is currently in operation. So let us turn to this interesting program I got listed above my head here, people. And you might want to take a read, and you might want to take a listen. This is the AROS program. This is a micro unmanned aircraft system, operational training and support organization and program of the UN. The United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism, which is UNOCT, in partnership with the United Nations Global Services Center, which is UNGSC, has developed an operating training course for micro unmanned aircraft systems, being UAS. The course offers comprehensive guidance on the use and the operation of UAS to support efforts aimed at preventing and counter-terrorism related activities, including international legislation, meteorological, maritime operations, night operations, overwatch, safety and security, and other key elements. The training is followed by a written and flight assessment enabling participants to earn an operator certification. The course aims to support border security, incident response, and counterterrorism operations for member states. And there are 3 specific operations that this has actually been used for, folks, and we're going to cover those because they are unredacted. Although the majority of the details are redacted, we know these specific operations, their dates, and what they involved. So let's give a little background on this. The Global Counter-Terrorism Program, an autonomous and remotely operated system, AROS, was created in 2021 to support member states in addressing the threat posed by drones, UAS, and other AROS systems, with terrorists continuing to prove their ability to adapt and evolve, moving beyond conventional attacks to threaten individuals, populations, facilities, and public order. This includes the use of autonomous and remotely operated systems, AROS, for intelligence gathering, direct and indirect attack, and communications to support propaganda. Moreover, evidence shows that terrorists have already begun to weaponize AROS, enabling them to execute lethal attacks which pose a threat to all countries and all nations. This possibility of terrorist groups combining technologies and use AROS to disperse chemical, biological, or radiological material presents a serious threat with global consequences. Let that sink in, people. The possibility of terrorist groups combining technologies and using AROS to disperse chemical, biological, or radiological material presents a serious threat with global consequences. Now that sounds so beautiful coming from us, the country that's probably the most terroristic country in the entire world right now. So let that sink in. Let's talk about 3 operations that we know that this particular operational command it was used for. So we got Kyrgyzstan, 3/12 and 15/24, August 2022. The micro UAS course brought together 22 security officials from Customs Services, Border Services, State Security, and the signals and communication officials from the Ministry of Defense. Trainees operated micro UAS for a total of 2.5 hours each before passing a theoretical written exam and practical flight assessment to earn their operator's certificate for the UN. Let that sink in, people. Niger. This is the 21st and 30th of September 2022 in Niger. The AROS program launched the first micro UAS operator course from Niger's Central Counter-Terrorism and Transnational Crime Services, being SCLCT/CTO. Under the Ministry of Interior's DGPN, the course's 13 participants were from the SCLCT and CTO's Special Intervention, Intelligence, and Investigation Units. This training was part of the program's long-term capacity building innovatively on UAS and counter-UAS operations worldwide. Let that sink in, folks. Let's go to the last operation. This is on 03/18 May 2023. So that again is 03, the 18th of May 2023. The AROS program, in partnership with the United Nations Global Services Center, the UNGSC, and the Peacekeeping Operations Training Center, COMP, in Lome, launched its first micro UAS training courses for Togo. This 2-week training gathered 13 security officials from the police and Gendarmerie, in addition to theoretical and operational UAS formation. The course focused on international legislation, meteorological night operations, and nighttime attack operations, and operations in defense of vegetation, integrating UAS into intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance (ISR) efforts of overwatch, safety, and security, and other key training elements. On the margins of the workshop, the AROS program team met with H.E. Yark Dameham, Minister of Security and Civil Protections of Togo, as they underwent complete operations and operational training in preparedness for global chaos. Let that sink in, people. This isn't a joke. These operations are currently in operation right now. Okay? Let's talk about what does all this mean for the average citizen, right? Because, of course, you can hear all of this information and you can do your own research and find this information yourself. You can try to read through all the redacted papers and all the secretive platform documents that talk about these operations worldwide, but what does it really mean, right? What does all this mean for the average citizen? How much oversight do we really have? The debate over transparency in national security operations, where case studies where lack of oversight led to significant public or international backlash, including the role of the media, whistleblowers, investigative journalism in exposing all of these operations, to include the operation we just saw in our own skies, people. Do not be fooled by the naysayers. Do not be fooled by these willful, ignorant politicians. They are lying to you. We know exactly what this operation is. We know exactly what it's being used for, and it's not being used for what you think it is, or what they're telling us it is. These drones are not looking for anything. These drones are deploying a gaseous material into the air, an aerosol. And I'm going to be very, very careful about how I word this particular operation, because it's real, they know it's real, and it's extremely dangerous. So let's look forward. Where are we headed with these clandestine operations? Is there potential future technologies like swarm drones or fully autonomous strike capabilities? The impact of international laws and treaties on these operations? How public discourse and policy might evolve with increasing awareness or acknowledgement of these programs? In closing, folks, I just want to let you know that I'm trying to make these as quickly as possible. It is extremely difficult for me to do that, as I have to be very careful about the wording that goes into these types of programs due to algorithmic capture and trap systems that are currently in place for individuals putting out information like I am, especially on a platform like this, or even platforms like X, where we're being completely shadow banned. So I just want to thank you all for joining us today for this deep dive into the shadows of national security. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding these operations is crucial for an informed citizenship. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to shine light on the unseen and unveiling all of the shadows that exist in the background. I am your host and your voice from the beyond, the Ghost Scientist, and you've been listening to Unveiling Shadows. We'll see you next time, and as always, people, good journey.